849.
All right, you got a job.
I wanted to get into because we talk about Brooks. I want to talk about the sack jacket because a lot of us like the sack jacket here.
I love a good sack.
Yeah, for the funny thing is, so I know I made this topic again for Wednesday, but of course we didn't get to it because the talk on Brooks Brothers took over the whole thing. But I put it on my story, and some guy was like, "Wait, what's a sack jack?" I'm like, "Oh, it stands for sack jacket," and he goes, "What's that?"
Oh, that's clear as well.
Sack. Obviously.
Yeah, and I'm sure I'll just.
It's cold.
Do you know the? Why don't you tell us what a sack jacket is for the Brooks Brothers thing?
Christ, should have given me some warning. I'd bring up the Wikipedia. Going off my memory though. Yeah. I'm gonna type and talk at the same time. But
oh boy.
I keep punching my horse.
Basically, it's a style of suit that was originally created and popularized by Brooks, I think, at the end of the 19th century. It's characterized by a free-button front, mid-width lapels, usually in a conservative fabric like grey flannel or something. Often rolled, free buttons, but often rolled down to the middle of the button, and on the back featuring a single vent that is sometimes hooked as well, and no darts on the front to give it a rather shapeless sack-like.
And for getting very briefly into the history of it, the sack jacket was the first version of the modern suit jacket cut. So you basically had frock coats or sack jackets.
Yeah, it was like a lounge suit or.
And so I mean, it's it obviously looked different in the mid 19th century when they.
I guess I guess they're similar. They are quite different, as you pointed out, but they are similar.
The modern, you did very clear definition of what we're going to be talking about tonight.
Right.
Yeah. That is exactly it. And the thing is, so, when I was into vintage, and Spencer can probably talk about this too, where, we like the 30s, we like the 40s, and we like the drape, the stronger shoulder, at least initially. The sack jackets were kind of disdained a little bit by the vintage community in Southern California because it's there is no shape to it, right? The lapels are often skinnier, especially with the late 50s to to the mid 60s. That's kind of the slimmer lapel era of the sack jacket, and so a lot of menswear guys didn't like it. And of course, if everyone doesn't like it, then I won't like it either, right? That's just kind of.
Oh, sorry.
Oh my god.
When you wanna be cool. What's up, Derp 8 Quad? I don't know.
Sounds like you're making fun of him. What's up, Derp8?
What's up, Bober? Hey, throwback.
Bober Day.
I think he reads the blog.
Yeah, I think hopefully. And so, hey, shout out also to 15 people watching. It's probably one of the most people we've had.
Oh, really? Wow.
But yeah, anyway. So I didn't like it until one of the people we talk about all the time, Mark Chevalier, really great, a self-appointed vintage historian because he's collected vintage for a lot of his life. He loves it a lot. When he was talking about the best way to get a modern vintage look or get a suit that could work for any era, he always talked about the Brooks Brothers number 2 sack suit.
Number 1 sack suit.
Number 1 sack suit. I'm sorry. Number 1 sack suit.
Number 2 pencil. Number 1 sack suit.
Yeah. Only winners, no second place.
Yeah. One was Rayforce.
Yeah. What is this, the 40s?
And so, when you look at this, hey, if someone could put a picture of it, because I know there's a Brooks illustration of it somewhere, of this jacket, we can put that in there. But it was very classic, and it didn't, we like to think about the 30s and 40s having a drape cut, wide legs, but there was a sack suit back then where it was kind of middle of the road, and like we talked about in the previous stream, which is on YouTube, by the way, if you guys want to, feel free to subscribe, because once you get 100, we can finally say youtube.com/user/sounddirection instead of some fucking randomized shit, because that's the way YouTube works now, apparently. We talked about how Brooks was middle of the road, and this suit was basically middle of the road. There's a couple of pictures.
And I don't think, and the really cool thing about that suit specifically and why he recommended it is because the design did not change at all from the 1910s up until the 1970s. So
I'm looking at a
you could buy the in 1915 and 1917 you could go into a department store and buy the exact same suit.
Yeah, and again, it was something that I don't know Spence, that Aldous talked about, is that the fact that the shoulders were natural.
Mm-hmm.
There's canvas in there, but it wasn't it wasn't extended too far. It wasn't padded or built up. It was just it was meant there's a couple of reasons why it's called a sack suit, but one of the things is like it hangs like a sack. It just hangs from your shoulders down. Again, kind of kind of closed quarters. The buttons again are very spaced out. Compared to say like a regular, because I've seen 1930s, 1940s 3-button suits, and they're not as spaced out as a Brooks Brothers #1 sack suit. That is one thing that is iconic to it, and so it's a
very
cool
turn of the
jacket.
century sort of detail too, where you have the buttons covering so much.
Exactly, we talk about it in the Sherlock Holmes episode of the podcast and the show notes, where these kind of space. Usually, it's not like on a 4 or 5 button suit, but like the idea and the person aesthetic of it is kind of similar to that turn of the century.
The idea that you can really button up, like cover most of your torso. That's a turn of the century vibe.
Exactly. And so, these suits are very, they're kind of rare because, in a sense, these suits are collected by not only vintage enthusiasts, but like vintage Ivy enthusiasts, right? Like, because people love old Brooks, it's kind of one of those things where like, an old Rolls Royce is cool to a lot of people, but of course car guys will also love it too, because, it's like, and Rolls Royce heads will like it, it's one of those things. And so, it wasn't until a couple of years ago that I started to kind of like turn around to it, because obviously, as I was kind of getting to this idea of like, well, how can I wear this vintage stuff in the modern day? Because I'm tired of wearing H&M jackets, super tight jackets, whatever, and even suit supply jackets in the modern day, right? Like I wanted to find a way to combine them both, and I was thinking about what Marc Chevalier said, and I was looking at these vintage sack suits, maybe not the '60s ones where it's a little bit slimmer in the lapel, but also like like that kind of '50s or the '40s, '30s ones where like it's literally 30s, but can also work for, if I wanted to do a 60s Ivy look, but also like a lot of Neapolitan styles can look like that. Maybe the buttons are spaced a little bit different, but like the wide lapel, soft shoulder, there's a lot of connotations and relations you can make between these two, and to create like a look that's contemporary meets vintage, which is exactly what the blog, the podcast, and my style is all about. And so I started collecting them, and like we said, it's a great way to get like a vintage look, because again, sack jackets on eBay are going to be cheaper than buying like a bespoke or even made to measure jacket in some cases. This is before I was into Spear and McKay or Berg and Berg. I mean, I don't have anything from Berg, but like that's the kind of a brand guys can try, and Drake's as well. But it was like it was really cool to get that look that could like go between the two, that was acceptable. Like I still think I still wear my sack jackets with spear point collars, even though maybe you want to wear it with an OCBD instead, or like a club collar or something. But it was really nice, and the fact that they were more plentiful out there than like a straight 30s jacket in terms of wearability as well, and quality, it was really nice. And I think even Spencer had sack jackets before I did, right?
Yeah, because I got a couple for free. I after I graduated, I helped my drama teacher with like wardrobe for a couple plays, and usually I would get to take 1 or 2 things from the like the closet, and they had a couple like 50s, 60s like sport coats and sack jackets. So whenever I saw something that had an old label and it fit me, I would basically I would like say, hey, can I have this? And so I got a couple of free jackets that way.
Yeah.
This is going to be off topic, but I would like to say we talked about Marc Chevalier quite a bit, and that guy is the spitting image of F. Scott Fitzgerald. I don't know what you guys think, but it's uncanny.
Hey, Brooks Brothers wear F. Scott Fitzgerald.
Yeah, exactly.
Noted Brooks fan.
Yeah.
F. Scott Fitzgerald, yes.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, that's my diversion.
Yeah.
we can get back now.
Thank you. Thank you, diversion.
And so, I mean, sack jackets are really cool. I mean, I have a bunch, but I haven't really bought a couple in a little while. I have a sack suit. I mean, one of the coolest articles that I've had. I still own the suit, and I think Spencer does too. It's where we both had vintage sack suits.
Both from, like a brown herringbone. It's the same
brown herringbone. Yeah, they're not exactly the same, because if you read this blog post, I'm going to link it in the chat right now. It's basically, I have an earlier one. So this is actually, mine's fucking perfect. Like, it was great. It was like my go-to brown suit for a while. It has soft shoulders, wide lapels, classic length, kind of a wider leg, high waist, flat front. Also, yeah, we'll get into Ivy in a second, but like sack suits typically had flat front trousers because that was like the whole Ivy League look. Had a great vest, 3-piece suit, and it's great. It was a great odd jacket as well. Mine doesn't have a vent, I think, because it's earlier, but it still has no darts in the body.
Wait, it doesn't have a vent, and that's pretty surprising, though.
Let's find out. Oh wait, no, I don't know.
Yeah.
No, maybe it did. Maybe I'm just I'm just thinking of like some other vintage suits I have, but I'm pretty
it
sure.
ought to have a single vent.
But I unfortunately don't have a picture of my ass in here.
Damn it!
So
You have a side ass in there.
No. But it's a great. I'm gonna put a picture of it in the chat here, so you guys can click this. But it's a fucking great jacket. It's like the epitome of like a jacket. Like I gotta take it in just a little bit because it was a little bit wide for me. And it's so good. And it literally opened my eyes to like again combining vintage and modern stuff because it's kind of a jacket
whole new world.
I see very often, and
new world.
Yeah. Thanks, Bangalore. And it is a nice fit, And unfortunately, I've had and you look at this picture here. I'm wearing it, not with OCBD. I'm wearing it with a pinned gingham shirt with spear point with a vintage tie and a collar bar there. But like it works, right? It's so good. And a lot of my jackets, when I was building it up, were sack jackets, and there's something special about it.
It's a really great suit. Even it is, if not the favorite one you have, it's up there.
It just sucks that it's I have to give it up. So if it was in the market for a 38 regular suit, because it's because it's too heavy for me to wear in LA. I've since gotten like a brown cotton suit from our friends at Atelier Fugue. Shout out Jason and Dave, who is not a friend of either the pod or the stream.
He's our enemy.
Yeah, that's right. But also, and also I've gotten like the ring jacket balloon stuff and everything. So it's like I don't really need that suit anymore because at that time the suit it was like my brown odd trouser, it was my brown odd jacket, and of course the brown 3-piece suit, 2-piece suit, whatever. So it like filled a lot of these, but now I've kind of gotten like more, maybe not, they're not vintage, but it's still kind of in that vein of being brown and I have to give it up just because I don't wear it as much as I used to. And
Is it a regular 6-inch drop?
Yeah, so it's a 32 waist.
Okay. Do you think that could be converted to 36 short, 30?
Again, if you look at the jacket is kind of on the long side for being a... Okay, also sack jackets were kind of classic length, at least in the early ones, before they got shorter with the introduction of mod later on, when you got like the continental look, which was similar to Ivy, but just kind of different, more slim, more, rock and roll, French Ivy, whatever you want to call it. So unfortunately, Matt, I don't think it'll fit you in terms of length. The trousers could probably be converted and shortened because also the trousers I had to make a false cuff because they were too short to do a regular cuff. So on you it would probably fit. But again, I think it would just be slightly too big for you, unfortunately.
Okay. So the jacket could not be altered.
Yeah, probably not.
Okay.
Spencer has a version of this suit which is way more 60s. It's shorter in the body, slimmer in the fit. The pocket flaps are larger than mine, so again more 60s, late 60s. Lapels are a little bit different as well. They're a bit straighter than mine, and he has a bit of like a different shoulder. And they're still like straight fit, but there's subtle differences. But yeah, you can see that in the. Let me see if I can put this in the chat as well.
Yeah, the way the notch is done is slightly different as well. Button stones a bit higher.
The color's a little bit different too, or the
his is darker. Mine's kind of like a lighter brown.
It also appears to be a bit more shaped in the body as well. It's still rather loose, but you've got a bit of nipping in the waist going on there.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a nip.
To be clear, sack suits could be. They didn't have to be.
No, of course,
straight
and I mean you see modern sack suits that have like a figure.
Yeah, I mean, remember it's all about just not having a dart, but the way you cut it could still be slim.
Not having a dart, I think inherently would make the jacket a bit baggier, but you still can't have.
I had that kind of. I thought that it would just be this horrible sack shapeless thing, and I mean there are elements of that, but I got one on eBay that was like from the 50s, I think it was. That was made for someone. I have his name all over. It's like embroidered. There's a little
That's cool.
tag in the thing. Yeah, I don't know. I like Googled him. I Googled. Yeah, it's Oliver Twist. I think it's from the 50s. They said, but yeah, it's the guy was slim enough, and it has like some kind of shape to it, even if there's no dart. And yeah, it can be a flattering garment. It's very curious to me how it does that magic.
Sack jackets look better worn open than closed. I mean, yeah, that's kind of true because again, by design, they have a very closed up feature, as I'll just talked about, because they're based on jackets that were closed all the way up back in those days. So I kind of agree that's why I like the ones from like the or from like the early, like the 40s or whatever, which have a bit more of like a vintage, aesthetic to them, and ones from the 70s, which are wider in the lapel. I think it's always a lapel, right? Because when you have a slimmer lapel, it emphasizes the space between the buttons, visually, and so it looks kind of weird close up because not only does it look, visually like closer, but like when you have a slimmer lapel, there is more visual like body or chest to your jacket, right? You're not covered. You don't have that visual V. So if it's buttoned up or fastened at the at the middle button, it looks kind of weird. It looks very cylindrical. Especially, I mean, you see that more on Spencer's jacket than my jacket, because of the width of the lapel and everything. So that's one reason why 70s sack jackets are cool. They're cool.
Cool.
And
spooky.
Cool.
And again, some of these jackets is also like the closest way you'll get to like a vintage like 30s or 40s style because again, 3-roll 2. If the button spacing is fine, and by that I mean how dropped the button stance is, because even if they are sack jackets, the button stance did get lower in the 70s, which I definitely hate. And by that, I mean that the bottom button goes past the pocket line of the jacket, which I don't like visually. But if you find one that's moderate or one that's actually on the money, it's a great jacket, and again, it looks like, contemporary 3-roll 2 jackets. You look at like Drake's.
Yeah.
We should say as well that the gorge, the positioning of the gorge, something that Ethan brings up all the time. He personally prefers a lower gorge height. It's more for the 30s look. But if you're looking at Brooks Brothers sacks, the gorge is quite high. And with J-Press, now J-Press was also a well-named company back then. Yeah, going back. Yeah. So I don't think they ever really got to a point where they could really go toe-to-toe with Brooks. Brooks was always the king, at least in the golden age. But they were nipping at their heels, let's say. And their gorge is even higher than Brooks Brothers is. Their gorge is so high it almost looks like a modern Spear and Decay jacket. It's
it's so high. He's at a Snoop Dogg concert.
Higher than the sky, yeah.
That's funny.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, again, like this look, some people didn't like it. I mean, because a lot of diehard guys, especially Ivy, will like this stuff. And Ethan talks about the 70s millimeter arco crazy 70s style. Yeah, 70s style. The ideas, not the specific stats.
Listen, Ethan is a land of contrasts.
Right. Don't you forget it. But as much as I a lot of people don't like, people still stayed true to the sack jackets for a little while. But when you get to like the 80s or 90s and early 2000s, like 3-button suits were like a thing, but they weren't good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't really have 3-roll 2 or whatever.
And it's also
on these jackets.
Brooks also made like sport coats in the same cut as their #1 sack jacket.
With a few differences.
A few differences. I think they were shorter. Generally had patch pockets too.
Not necessarily as. So after Brooks Brothers closed, I went on quite a bit of eBay sack suit bender, just looking through a lot of them.
Okay. Tell us what you found.
I don't think they were generally shorter. They seem to. I'm a 42, and it seems like the average cut for a regular would have been somewhere between 30 and a half and 31. So a little bit longer than I'd like, but yeah. But the point being, it's not significantly shorter than their suits were. They were different in some minor details, though. Minor details of which, personally, I think are quite cool. They had swelled edges, which is something.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I love. Yeah, that's.
Well, they reissued that navy blazer in that #1 sack style, and they had the flat patch pockets with the swelled edge. real too.
And yes,
I think it had a hook vent.
Swelled edges are maybe that's one.
Swelled edges. That's one detail that you saw on the
Love it.
casual sport coats. Matt pointed out and patch pockets, and yes, on sport coats it was quite common to see patch pockets, but also patch pockets with flaps on the hip pocket.
Right.
So
flaps with no button closures.
I have 2 sport coats in this cut. So I have a gray flannel or a gray herringbone tweed one that I got in San Francisco, and then I have a brown check one of my favorite jackets, also heavy tweed, that I got on eBay for like $30. It's a great deal. Great deal.
Great deal time.
Very best price.
Yeah.
And finally, the hook vents, which one of you brought up. That wasn't a thing for Brooks Brothers suits, though. That was a J-Press thing, from what I was able
It's a hook vent.
J-Pros, they do it now, even with their tuxes.
A hook vent, it's kind of... you know how usually single vents are cut than the center back seam?
Yeah.
They cut along that line. The hook vent's a bit off. It's a bit off to one side, a bit off to the right, I think. So it kind of it doesn't just the jacket doesn't just open at the seam. It's sort of it's a single vent, but it's sort of one side is covering the other a bit.
Okay.
It's asymmetrically cut.
But they're shorter too, right?
The length really depended on the era, I suppose. There were minor concessions made from decade to decade, depending on.
And I'm not saying the center vent, if it wasn't a hook vent, always had to be like a French, like ridiculous long vent, or like a 70s. But like, I just noticed in general, like those hook vents generally were a little bit shorter. And maybe, like you said, an era thing, like 60s, bigger body and tiny vent against whatever. But I don't know. I guess I kind of like to go for it. Not too much longer than those shorter hook vents, but just a slightly longer center vent, I think, is more attractive.
Right.
I think overall, though, the vents were generally what we'd consider long-ish. They swung back and forth, of course, but generally on the longer side of things.
Right.
Yeah, but I think the thing with the sack jackets in general, like a lot of people today are inspired by sack jackets, whether intentionally or not. Like what's it called? Drake's has a very Ivy League aesthetic to it, and their jacket is inspired by that, the 3-roll 2 soft-shouldered jacket. I mean, there's also the fact that Neapolitan style is kind of like the big thing in menswear for the past like 5 or 6 years, right? And that takes also. I mean, some people say that the sack jacket got their stuff from Italy. Maybe, I don't know.
I said that.
I find it interesting with Drake.
Italians.
I find it interesting with Drake's doing sack suits, as you said, even now, because in a way it's kind of like they're coming full circle, because the sack suits and American style in general, how it started was basically they had a bit of a Anglophilic fetish there. They were really into English fabrics, English hunting cloths. The
waspy, right? The waspy, like the wealthy English people became wasps, over time.
Yeah, they turned into wasps.
For a Gilded Age, wasp, there was nothing more they wanted than to become
English
British aristocracy. Yeah. Which is why you see a lot of marriages between like the Vanderbilts and like Churchill's. Winston Churchill was the product of one of these marriages where there was a rich American who was paired off to an English duke, I think, the Duke of Marlborough.
The cigarettes?
Yes, Marlborough cigarettes. Yes. Is that a sponsor?
That is a sponsor of the podcast.
Yeah, it is now.
We're a big fan of cancer here. So.
We 9 out of 10 doctors.
Cancer heads.
KTO, we're alleged. But I think it's feel like it is coming full circle. I mean, again, like Jason said last stream, Brooks, the sack suit could be taken after the Italians. It's really interesting because like they're very similar in a sense, right? The whole Neapolitan cut, soft shoulders, 3-roll 2, like nice lapels, open quarters. I mean, again, the difference is that with Milanese, it's or not Milanese, Neapolitan, you still have actual tailoring. So it's not that you're gonna have darting in it, but there's like a lot of analogous things you could make between the two, which for guys like us, where we like Ivy, we like contemporary tailoring, finding a sack jacket with moderate lapels, where that's not too boxy and with the skinny lapels and everything, it's a great way to approximate like a classic menswear look, right?
It's a
like
great way to look vintage, but not be overtly so.
Oh, absolutely.
In the same way that wearing a
a lot of
wide-shouldered, thin, narrow-waisted 30 suit would look,
right,
although cool, quite out of the
because I think that when a lot of the people like when I see it on the Gentleman's Gazette page or whatever, these people will say like, oh, I bought this suit because it's vintage, right? It's made out of it's made out of good fabric. Maybe it's Belfast. Maybe it's fucking Hugo or not Hugo Boss, but Ralph Lauren. Ralph Lauren or something. But the thing is, these people focus on the wrong things. They don't look at like lapels, the waisting, whatever. And you could get like a cool, like I see this also in like our Facebook group, also people who follow me where people will say, I got this cool vintage suit. It's made by like Brioni or whatever. But then it's like a low buttoning 80s suit, right? Like with a sack jacket, if it's a true sack jacket, whether it's from the 70s, or the 60s, or even a modern interpretation of it, you're going to be okay. Because the proportions are typically good, again, because the style didn't change a lot. It's going to be wearable, and that's why a lot of people like us can wear vintage sack jackets I call them, out with like modern jeans or with high-waisted flannels or linen pants if we have a summer variation, and not look too out of place. Yeah, it's vintage, but it's also not like
Ethan,
super.
As well, I'd like to add quickly.
Go ahead.
You mentioned wearing with casual wear. The fact that the sack jacket is cut the way it is as well, that also lends itself to casual wear. It's got that droop. It's got that floppiness. It's got that
droop.
It's called the slouch, baby. That's my.
That slouch.
No
I was looking for the word. The slouch, right?
That's the Ethan word, baby. Yeah. No, and that's the best part of the sack jacket. I mean, again, lots of makers take after it. And also like people like straight up like reproduce it in a sense. Like Tailor Caid is a big one.
Yeah,
that does it.
Yeah, I'm glad you hit on that because I was until you brought it up, I thought it'd be remiss. I think it would be remiss to do a episode on the sack jacket and not talk about how Japan has pretty much co-opted that style.
Exactly.
I mean,
they love it like no other nation. Yeah.
They love it. I went to like Beams Plus on Harajuku, and fucking like the casual jackets, even if it's like a poly blend, we're all cut like sack jackets. It's fucking crazy. Like occasionally Uniqlo will make some. Or Muji, RIP Muji, will make like casual jackets that are 3-button. They might look more like a chore coat, but again, chore coats, that's like they're kind of related in that sense, right? Like it's back to the chore coats don't have darts either. They're just meant to be worn, right? And sometimes they have instead of like a standing collar.
No one loves doing chores more than the Japanese.
They love chores, man.
Right.
They're chore heads.
Chore heads.
Is this the moment you cancel yourself, Jason? We're gonna have to come back on that one. We're gonna have to
21 and 18.
Wait.
Note the time. We will address this
I can't
next
say these things just because I'm partially Asian. Isn't that the rule? I can.
No.
Well, we'll get your ancestry results and then we'll find out.
Never mind. Can we?
Actually, we'll do ancestry 23andMe just to be sure.
There you go.
I'd like a replay, please.
Well, I mean, wait. Is it a racist thing to say that to joke that Japanese people love chores? Is that what we're?
I don't know, but I gotta keep myself
right
clean
I'm hanging up the phone. I'm hanging up the phone right now.
And I'm out. Yeah.
But I think Tailor Caid does it, and I think in Japan, like a lot of things are cut like sack jacket, or is in that style. Like I went to what's their menswear house, like Suit Company or whatever. I went to one place like that.
Suit Company.
Yeah, but everything there, even if it's like a fucking like salaryman outfit, they're still cut really well, and just shows to show you that that the sack jacket is so supremely classic that even if it's like a mass market men's warehouse cousin, I guess, it can still look good, compared to say like a jacket from like America that might try too hard to be, either super modern, right? Like, 2-button, super short, whatever. Like it just doesn't look classic compared to the sack jacket, and that's what's super cool. And
Ethan, do you want to talk about the history of the sack suit and sack jacket in Japan? How that came about?
I mean, you sound so excited. Why don't you do it? You should do it.
I know, but you love Army Torah, and that's pretty much why we know.
No, I think no. I like.
you guys alternate every
You're like
other
the king of this. Well, yeah. You go ahead, Aldous. Go ahead.
Well, as outlined in one of our favorite books, Army Torah,
Sponsor of the episode.
Yes, sponsored by
Marlboro.
Sponsored by Van Jacket, guys. We love them.
Tie is coming off.
Right.
Oh boy.
I'm not going to be good at the specifics, but basically it was a bunch of young Japanese guys in the late 50s, early 60s who really idolized American college life and college culture. And the way they understood it was an integral part of that was showing up to class in a dark sack suit all the time and rep tie, which was, for them, although we'd think of that as restricted, for them, guys who showed up in... Oh, this is a callback to the Malaysian guy. Those tunics that we... That sort of black tunic that buttons all the way up the neck, like a military tunic, for students who had up to that point had to show up to school wearing that sort of thing in notoriously humid Japan. The sack jacket and sack suit represented a degree of freedom, and they really latched onto that. And a whole subculture sort of emerged that did nothing but hang around Ginza all day, looking trad and cool.
I think one of my favorite anecdotes from the book is how in the 1964 Tokyo Olympics, the police were called on all these like young hooligans wearing like sack jackets. It's like, look at these fucking punks, and they were all wearing like button-down collars and like
McGraw jackets.
Yeah,
yeah.
Dress
What terrible ruffians? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The best part of it, I mean, this is sort of related, but the best part is just like, oh my god, they're all this black with the white shirts and the slim. Oh, this is what all they're wearing. And then they go to Ivy League campuses and they're just like wearing what we consider perfect clothing, just like fucking t-shirts.
Yeah, it's a funny anecdote in the book because another book that we like is Take Ivy. It's a photo. It's a photo book, right?
I have my copy right over there.
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah. And when they went to make it, the guys who made it were also the guys who started Van Jacket. When they went over, I think was it 64 to America?
64,
to
65.
to finally see these campuses they'd put up on a pedestal and had admired for so long. They were, for lack of a better word, kind of shook to see everyone going around in like shorts and like
so great.
length khakis.
Originally published.
Yeah, you're not wearing the dark chocolate sack suits that we fought during the war.
See, this book is great because you could flip to any page and get a great look. I don't know if this never shows up right. See, this guy, he's wearing like a light blue linen jacket with jeans and loafers. Very cool. Yeah.
Very nice.
There's a lot of Madras shorts in here. I think my favorite thing is they just like talk about. Well, I mean, hey, they have like, this is a Brooks Brothers store in 1964, looking great.
Oh, look at that!
And then they have just like,
I like that.
And then they just have like a breakdown of all the different Ivy League universities, so that's kind of fun. But yeah, good book.
I gotta download that PDF. I gotta find it.
I went to Van Jacket when I was there. Van Jacket through Kent Shop.
Yeah.
And that was really cool. I mean, the guys, I have the bag hung up in my room because
that's iconic.
This bag, back then, right, like you show off by having the bag with the label of like whatever you bought, and it was really cool. And the guy, I read the book, and the guy, when I bought just I have the cap right here, the Van Jacket cap. I put it in the bag, and he goes, this is a very famous bag, and I'm like, buddy, I know. I know. And I made sure that I folded it pristinely and I put it in my suitcase, and now it is hanging on my wall. Should have
bought the tote. Should have bought the tote when they had it at that bookstore.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should have done that. It was like $50 though, or something. Because it came with like a magazine or something.
Yeah, let me look up Van Jacket.
As you look, two questions. What's your name, Jason? I have to consult you. Jeremy asks. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, here's the problem. You can't Google Van Jacket anything or whatever in the United States because you're just going to get Vans off the wall.
That's what I'm saying. That's so hard to find it.
Yeah. By the way, guys, you can find some sweatshirts on Etsy right now.
Oh?
Yeah.
Okay. Jason, are sack jackets punk?
Yeah. for sure.
Okay. All right. Now are they
Especially
punk
when you
rock?
pair them with Crocs. Yeah.
Yes, pair it with a pair of Crocs and you're good.
So that's what gets you to rock level. It's just punk by itself. Well, you got those Crocs, then you're punk rock.
Then it's punk rock.
All right, and then Kiyoshi. I swear I saw on YouTube like there's like a little. I don't know how long the thing is. If it's only like 8 minutes, but I feel like I saw a little bit of it where the whole like bit is like it's like a guy being late to class or something like that, and it's all like horribly lit stuff of him in a classroom. So or like knocking his books down. So if it's like a partial clip or maybe the full thing, I feel like I saw it at one point. But I don't know if it was YouTube or some other thing, but I don't know. Maybe it's out there someday. Who knows?
It's out there.
It's out there.
I wanna
Wouldn't it be
believe.
great? You open up your book, it's just there.
Yeah.
Wow. Exclamations points.
Yeah. So anyway, the sack jacket is cool. We love it a lot. Again, I recommend it. A lot of us. I mean, even MJ has some of my other ones that I don't wear anymore, and they're really great because they're going to be a great way to get vintage aesthetics or even a classic menswear aesthetic. Because most places, even in America today, are really it's changed a little bit, but most places are only going to give you 2-button jackets, which there's nothing wrong with them. I've seen 1940s 2-button jackets. I've seen stuff. There is nothing wrong with it. I still own 2-button jackets, but most of the time, they're not going to be quite right or proportional in their cut, right? They're going to be kind of a lower button stand sometimes. The shoulder's going to be weird. The lapel's going to be weird. But, excuse me, take a shot.
Yeah, speaking for myself.
But 3-button ones are going to be, getting that classic look, whether you're going to try and be vintage and try and be modern, or you're going to be modern and try and be vintage, the sack jacket is going to be like that.
Your best friend.
Yeah, and
yes, speaking for myself, I think the main attraction of a sack suit to me is not necessarily the fact that it's cut like a sack, but it's more the fact that it combines a lot of things I like into one neat and tidy package.
Exactly.
I think the main attraction.
English fabric, great. Yeah.
I think the main attraction.
English fabric, it's a great place to last. Swelled edges, I love those. It's got that. Tight pockets, got that. So it's combining the best of
with things that you don't normally see on like regular off the rack stuff in the mall.
And I personally think the main attraction of sack jackets are the Ferris wheel.
I agree.
Yeah.
God damn it!
Thank you.
And on that note,
like that's the
And now
also the fact that if they're vintage, you're gonna get cool, better fabrics for it. And it's also one way, blazers are really cool. Spencer has a crest blazer, school crest one. Those are always great to have. And even if you don't get the classic Brooks Brothers, number one, lots of makers back in those days adopted it because it was very popular. You're not gonna go typically unless you have one with a really crazy low buttoning stance or it has crazy shoulder pads on it, which won't make it a sack suit, but. If you find a vintage sack jacket, you're probably going to be okay, and it's gonna be great.
If you look up like 3-roll-2 on eBay, like Ethan likes to cast a wide net on eBay.
That's right.
But if you search 3-roll-2, you're gonna find a bunch of like very curated, good jackets. It's very easy to find them that way.
Yeah, and again, even if you don't want to do that, there's nothing wrong with doing a Neapolitan cut jacket to approximate. Like a modern take on like Ivy, like Spear McKay, something that we all love here.
To the fugue.
Don't rest the waistcoat
Shout out
in the chat if we think that the It Happened One Night suit that you love, Ethan, would be as popular if it was a sack suit.
Well, I don't know how,
but with the same details.
Popular.
Well, okay, like I said, like me and Meat talked about, the suit that he wears in the film is like a 40, like it's like what is it, like 1920 something, like late 20s.
The movie came out in
it's 1934. 1934.
Oh, okay, so mid 30s. So it's got like extended shoulders. It's still very structured. It just has a lot of it is 3-roll-2, right? And it has like.
But it has waist suppression with that belt back.
Exactly.
I mean, if it was a sack jacket, it would be completely different jacket. So.
Yeah, Delbrecht does make that point though that he knows as well that it's not a sack suit in any sense of the word.
Yeah,
but he wonders if a sack suit with those details. So I think what would we think of a sack suit with load patch pockets? I suppose.
I mean, again, if it was more in the line of the 30s Brooks Brothers #1 sack suit, where or like mine, where the lapels are pretty wide, I think that is the best way. Like I think that to me also it works for fucking regular jackets, right? Like that's just really great. And so having those lapels with the soft shoulder with the bellowed patch pockets would be like my thing, and I would definitely love that.
There's something magical about a sack jacket because like I've talked about. I love the Drake silhouette.
It's magic, boys.
It's magical, truly. I mean, I love the Drake silhouette where they're combining it with the Neapolitan thing, but like something about it is like I'm fine just having like a center vent and flat pockets, like pretty basic. I'm not going, and 3-year-old too, obviously, but not going super crazy with details and belt loops. So like it's just something with that simple design. It's very appealing to me, and I don't necessarily need patch pockets or like the darts or a wider lapel. It just kind of works, and it's
on the
really charming look.
On the subject of single vents, though, the oft repeated complaints about them, and the reason why they haven't been popular, I suppose, in menswear circles recently. The main complaint is that they open up too easily, and there's a point there if it's cut on the center seam like Brooks Brothers did, but it's arguably the reason why J Press adopted and really went for the hook vent, because when it's flapped over like that, it doesn't open up as easily.
Well, I don't think any of us are Kim K here, so I don't know that we have that problem.
I'm pretty thick. Yeah, me and Jason are kind of thick, so we got it. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So you stick to the hook vent.
Well, yeah. That's the thing.
I prefer the double vent, but that's just
me too. Yeah, me too.
It makes it better for pocket fisting because I need the hip.
Damn right.
Moving thing.
You don't like showing off your ass when you fist?
No.
If I can't fist it, I ain't with it.
If you can't fist it, I ain't with it. The old saying.
That's a clip, right?